designers. I'm just going over the rest of your color assignment. We're going to talk about the color schemes today. So you want to hop in your color schemes notes in today's folder. And it'll go through just what are color schemes and how we combine them. And then you also want to hop back in your assignment from yesterday, the online formative assignment for color. And then you went and we did, had the color wheels up front, and then you had on the top, and then the color notes, and then the temperature of color, so the warm, cool, and neutral colors, and finding the pictures and all of that for that. And that's where we left off. So today we're going to start with your color schemes. And this is how we put color together to make it pleasing, depending on the look that we want in the room. So the first one that's listed on your notes is the achromatic. So let me, let's hop back. Let me just put this in order. I have the neutral one. I'll put that first, and then the accent and neutral. Neutral, we've talked about, it's kind of its own color scheme, but I'm not having you do anything with it for this one. Usually we do something more like accent and neutral, and this is neutral colors with an accent of one hue. So like I would have neutral colors, like this one looks mostly gray, maybe a little bit of black, a little bit brown, but then the accent is just red. Okay, and it's just one value of red. It's not different tints and shades of red. That's a different color scheme that we'll talk about later. So if I'm putting accent and neutral in, I'm looking at this. I can do neutral colors with one accent of one other hue, and I can put that right in here. And then you're going to find a picture of an accent and neutral room, and you're going to Google search this. But reminder, not all of your Google searches are accurate, especially when we get into the more complicated ones. A lot of them are wrong. Okay, so to me, when I'm looking at this, I want to find something that really just has one color from the color wheel. So I'm going to scroll down like this one, even right here. And one thing to point out is I don't usually have you count plants necessarily unless you want to as part of the color scheme. See, a lot of these coming up are incorrect. Like if I click on this neutral color scheme, this is actually not right. See how there's different tints and shades? That would be a different kind of color scheme, and it's not correct. So like if I'm looking for one like this, don't use this one. You're going to find a different one. But now I look at this one, it's all gray, white, black in here, a little bit of neutral, like brownish tan on the floor. But then I have one pop of color on here, and I can see it's just one red color. There's the same red color here and the same red color here. It looks a little different because of the lighting. This would be correct, right? Because it's not a bunch of different tints and shades in the color, and there's no other colors from the actual color wheel on that picture. Okay, that's your accent and neutral. So I could take this, do my copy image, or do a screenshot of it, and then I could go in here, and then I would just paste it in. So screenshot and paste it. Okay, and then I would say the colors that make this room accent and neutral. I would type in black, white, gray, or spell gray how you want, and then red. And then that's it. Okay, that's how I'm going to be doing all of these. I'm not going to go through each one with you, but that's how you do that. Achromatic. And we're going to look at achromatic next. It's black, gray, and white only. So it's really looking at this. I mean, you can have a bunch of different tints and shades and tones of black, gray, and white, right? And like the one I have on this picture, this is like almost all grays, and it's showing different ones. But is a darker floor. There's some white, all kinds of different things. I could have a white and black room only, and that's achromatic. I could have a gray and white room only, and that's achromatic. It's just making sure your only colors in the rooms, like literally, are your black, gray, and white. Okay, as soon as I add a pop of color, it would become like my accent and neutral. Like really, it'd be accent and achromatic, but pretty much the same thing. Okay, so again, you're going to, wrong one. is you just put the definition, find the picture of the achromatic room, and then the colors. So if I type in, and a color scheme, okay, I'm coming up with, a lot of these pictures work, but see how I have this one right here? To me, those yellow pillows kind of wreck it. It's not truly achromatic because of those yellow pillows. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're looking at some of these, and make sure you're finding pictures of rooms. And if you're not, like, you notice on here we're getting a lot of non-rooms. I can type in rooms and see, make sure, and then maybe, oh, look, now I get a lot more rooms to look at. Okay, I'm hoping this makes sense. Okay, if you're seeing like a bunch of brown, that's neutral, right? Like this one, see this living room, how I have that in here? Because that floor is so like tan brown, it's not really a true achromatic screen, like true achromatic color scheme. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at that. So next up is our monochromatic. Monochromatic color scheme is one color, one hue, in different tints and tones or shades of that same color. So you can see from the picture, like on this first one, it's like this, this chair right here is a bright blue, and then it's like more subdued blues. It's like little different tints and shades of it, but it's of the same color. Like even the wall looks a little like a bluish, like white. Okay, that's achromatic. Or not achromatic, sorry, monochromatic. And then so I'm going to type this in. And then again, we're going to get rooms that might not be totally monochromatic in here. Like on here, this one, if I'm looking at this is all gray. I don't want achromatic gray rooms or monochromatic like gray. Find a color from the actual color wheel. Okay, I'm hoping that makes sense to you all. Okay, so look around. If I have, this one usually works pretty good, but if I have like a room that has more than one color, and I'm looking at this one, see how, I don't know if it might be cut off, but see how if there's some red here in the screen. I'm trying to move it over so you can see it, but you can't. But on the edge, on the very edge of this picture, there's like orange and stuff. That's not monochromatic as soon as you're adding those accents in. It would be like something a little bit different. So watch out for that. And the next one is our anaglyph. And this one is basically you're taking 3 to 5, and it says 2 colors, but usually like it's 2 lie on either side of it, right? So it's going to be 3 to 5 colors that are all right next to each other in a row. It can't be a cross, or it can't be one and then there's a space and then another. It has to be like they're all connected, like that is. Like the one on top, you can see it's just there's 3 sticking out of there right next to each other. On the bottom part, you can see there's 4 actually right next to each other on here. Okay, so I'm hoping that makes some kind of sense. And then again, do your Google search, but you have, some of them are going to be wrong. Some of them might be like a double complement or something else. So make sure when you're looking at the picture that you see they're all right next to each other. Okay, like this one we have our yellow, we have yellow orange, and we have orange, and you can see those distinct different colors in here. Okay, this one we've got the blue green. We have some actual blue in the pillows. Notice how the blue is really light though. Okay, it's blue, but it's that light blue. And then we have a blue violet, and then some of the pictures, I believe, and maybe the pillows, and then we have more of an actual violet, which I think is more your wall. Okay, even if we had just blue violet and it's a toned down one, it still would be. I know it's a little hard to distinguish between the violet and the blue violet. Okay. So that's your now. It's always right next to each other on the color wheel. And if you're not sure, this is where it helps to actually look at the color wheel. Like scroll back up and go, oh, are they right there? Or open it in another one One thing I think is helpful is I just type in like color wheel. I could have this up, and you could just be able to pop back and forth and look at your color wheel too. You could also just do your split screen as well. So there's a lot of different things with that you could do. Okay, let's scroll down. The next one is our complementary color scheme. This to me is one of the easiest ones. There's ones directly opposite each other on the color wheel. So like this one you can see, you have a little color wheel on here, and it's, I think, the blue violet, and then a yellow orange. Okay, so these are both the two ones on here, directly opposite. You can see all this yellow orange on here, and you can see all this like blue violet. Okay, so it's really a pretty kind of easy one to see. If there's colors that look really different from each other, and there's only two colors from the color wheel doing that, this would work, right? And this one's more of an orange and a blue, how the orange and the blue go together. Try to stay away from it. I can see almost a little green. I can see a little bit of yellow in here. Okay, they're just little accents we could take out though, and it would make more sense. Okay, so whatever, they just have to be directly opposite each other, and then they're complementary. Again, when you do your Google search, you have to double check that, because you'll find stuff that's like double complements, or you'll find other things that are not correct. Okay, split complementary, this is where it starts getting trickier. The split complement, the triad, the tetrad, and the square color schemes are tricky. So it's really having to work and look at color wheels and really figure it out based on the color wheel. So split complement is a color on the color wheel, and then the two colors next to its complement. So you're making like a little triangle. So you're going to pick like on this one it's blue, and then the complement on here is orange, but that's not a part of the color scheme. It's going to be the two on either side of that are your color scheme. So it's blue, yellow, orange, and red, orange. Okay, so that's what that one is. Okay, and then you can see it in the color scheme. You can see like these little stools are going to be that more yellow, orange. You're going to have the blue, you have the red, the yellow, orange right here. Okay, and then this next one, this one is, I believe, your yellow, orange, and then the violet and the blue. And that's your color scheme. You can see that violet on the wall. You can see the yellow, orange here. You can see the blue in this, in the sofa, a little love seat. Okay, that's your split complement. Okay, triad is similar, but note that the biggest thing is they're equal distance on the color wheel. So each time I have a color, I'm going to have three little pie pieces in between. Oh, and then there next is my color. And then I have three pieces in between, and there's my next color. So triad is easy that way. It's always three pieces in between. And your primary colors are automatically a triad. Your secondary colors are also automatically a triad. And then you have different arrangements of tertiary colors that can be triads too. So keep that in mind. And notice on here, like if I did this color scheme, it can look so different. Like these top two color schemes, this top one is a triad with bright bold primary colors. There's a lot of white to make it not so overwhelming, but that's like a bold look, right? If you want it more subdued, you still can make it that way. You're just using some lighter colors. You got a little bold and bigger portions are light, so it's not so overwhelming. Okay, and then the bottom one is your secondary colors showing there. Okay, so that's a triad. Again, when you do a search for the split complement, the triad, the tetrad, and the square, you're going to get ones that are wrong. So you gotta really look for those. Next is your tetrad. So tetrad is two sets of complementary colors. When you make the points, they create a rectangle when connected. So like on this one, I have blue and orange, right? They're opposite each other on the color wheel. And then I have red and green, and they're opposite on the color wheel. But when I like add them all together, like when I just have the points and then connect them, I end up with a rectangle. That's your tetrad. Okay, and you can kind of see it in the placemats. I have my orange. There's a red. Okay, and then there's a couple different tones of red, I think, too. There's a blue, and then there's also a green. You can kind of see it repeating pattern in a lot of that stuff for the tetrad. Okay, again, you just gotta look. And then the square, this is two sets of complementary colors that the points create a square when they're connected. So remember, a square has like equal parts to it, or equal distance. And this one's pretty easy. You start with one color, you count two, and then there's the next. Okay, and then you start with one color, you have that color, count two, and then you connect. So there's always just two in between each color. Okay. So square is sometimes also called a tetrad, and then people distinguish it between a rectangle and a square tetrad. I prefer just to keep them separate. I'm hoping that makes sense to you all. And then I put this on here. I think this is super helpful to understand the difference between a lot of the different color schemes. Accent and neutral is not on here. The achromatic, all the neutral ones are not. But the ones that are a little harder to remember are. So like looking at complementary, we have directly opposite. Split complementary is instead of directly opposite, it's two on either side of them. Analogous is the ones right next to each other. Okay, that monochromatic, you just choose any one of these, right? I could choose the whole little red column, and then that would be minus all the tints and values of them. Okay, the tetradic is going to be your equal distance triangle. So triadic, I think I said tetradic. Triadic is your equal distance apart from each other and makes a triangle, and you connect them. Okay, that's your triadic, triangle, triadic, right? And then we have split complement also makes a triangle, but it's a smaller one. Tetradic makes a rectangle, okay? And then your square one makes a square on here. Okay, I know this is a lot of information, and I really expect that you might need help. I have some videos on here, so it helps you understand the colors from this. There's extra videos and design tips related to color, and kind of a process on how to choose color. So I encourage you to really watch those. I think those are helpful, but I'm not going to show them on here. So making sure, what I want you to do is you have all of these filled in, so including the square one. So you found a picture of the room and then the colors that make it a triad. So if I found a picture with a blue, yellow, and red, I would put that in here. That wouldn't make an actual square color scheme. That would make a triadic color scheme. I could use that. Okay, but just double check. And when you're looking at this, basically for me, I could, and I don't expect you to do this, but I could figure out what all these color schemes are, all the way up to complementary. Really easy. I could look at them. I could figure that out just by looking at them because I have a lot of practice that I know. I expect you might have to look at the color wheel, even in some of those, okay, or all of them. Okay, for me, I do have to start looking at the color wheel when I get to split complementary. All the way through triad. If it's the primary or secondary colors, then I don't. But if it's the tertiary ones, I do. And so I'm looking at a color wheel when I'm looking and figuring those out too. So don't feel like you don't need to look at those. I have color wheels, a few in class, and then I usually use these because I think it helps me to have that on here. And then I'm looking at my picture. I'm trying to find the pictures, like the colors that are in the pictures. I find them on my color wheel, and then once I find them, I go, okay, let's see, what arrangement does this make? And then I can figure out my color scheme. Every once in a while, you might find a colors, like a picture of a room that doesn't have a color scheme. It could be a really poorly designed room, or it could be one that we haven't gone over yet. It might say double complement on some. Some double complements could be a tetrad, or the square. So you might see that on some of them. You have to figure out what kind of double complement it is. Is it a tetrad, is it a square, or is it just a different double complement? Meaning two colors that are directly opposite each other, like two sets of them. Okay, I know this is a lot of information. We will do more practice with this. You're going to create your own color schemes later. We're going to do some color value stuff also. So just keep this in mind. This is just the beginning of it, and we'll spend some time practicing. Please let me know if you have questions. Send me an email, and I will help you. Have a great day.